To those who have accidentally killed someone, what went wrong? My dad is a garbage truck driver in a major city. A few years ago, there was a dead and crushed homeless man found at the dump. They went through the camera footage and the tickets for the trucks coming and going and narrowed it down to my dad's truck. Who dumped the man? The guy was sleeping in a dumpster. For those of you that don't know, there's a packer blade in the back of those trucks to squish the garbage to make more room. He didn't stand a chance. I asked my college roommate to drive my car since I was tired. Not sure what happened as I was asleep, but he ended up hitting an oncoming vehicle head-on at around 60-70 mph. I was the only survivor. His parents were extremely helpful in forcing me to accept that it wasn't my fault, but my heart breaks regularly for his lost potential. He was an incredible guy and would have done great things. I'm sure of it. Rock climbing in Nevada. I was securing the line. Paused to sneeze. My friend prematurely switched lines without me giving him the thumbs up. He fell over 100 feet. I haven't climbed since. I was 18. I'm 51 now. A crazy, wasted guy broke into my house several years ago. He had a knife and was threatening me. My young son and I were the only ones home. I heard noise in my house and grabbed a baseball bat I keep under my bed and went to investigate, thinking it was probably nothing. The guy came at me yelling incoherently, and almost as a reflex, I cracked on top his head with the bat. I think my adrenaline must have put more into the strike than I thought I was doing, and the guy dropped immediately. I called 911 and police arrived quickly, but he was already gone. Crushed skull. I still have nightmares fairly often, but can't picture how else it would have ended without me, and possibly my son being attacked. Survival instincts are strong. This happened to my uncle back in the 70s. He was coming home from work one night in a snowstorm and turned onto his road. His house was on the other side of a hill. He climbed the hill, and as he started descending the other side, he heard kids screaming and yelling. Brakes were useless. He ran over a 10-year-old kid who was sledding down the hill in the middle of the road and killed him. It was his next-door neighbor. There was no charge against him. Nobody sued him, because it was clear that it was a freak accident. Even the kid's parents told him it was not his fault. However, my uncle, 53 years old, a World War II USMC combat veteran of the Pacific War, previously strong-willed, clear-headed, and not a drinker, drank himself to death in less than a year. Tragic all the way around. This was a hockey accident when I was 19. I'm 36 now. I shot a low slap shot, and there was a net battle and my friend on the other team got shoved, fell over and the puck hit him in his temple and shattered much of the structure. He died later because of the bone fragments in his brain. I stopped playing for a long time after that. Now play men's league and wear his number. It wasn't me. It was my dad. A few years before I was born, he was a truck driver, and one late night while he was doing his normal drive between Sydney and Brisbane, a car coming in the opposite direction failed to make a turn. The driver was close to his destination and had likely decided to continue driving despite being tired. My dad had nearly a ton worth of truck going 100 kilometers per hour. He couldn't do anything. The car went under the front of his truck. The driver and his passenger were killed immediately. The passenger's 3 children in the back were pinned, but alive and awake and screaming. Being the early 90s, my dad had to run for the nearest house to get help. When he reached a farmhouse, he got them to call emergency. He couldn't bring himself to return to the scene of the accident. The screaming was already haunting him. From that point on, my dad couldn't handle the sound of children crying. It broke my family. The actions of one idiot who didn't take a nap. My dad still had to drive that route several times a week. I remember watching him grip the steering wheel so tight every time he approached that corner. Don't drive tired. Happened to a friend. They were a group of adventure influencers who do a lot of stuff like cliff jumping and cave diving and filming themselves. All strong athletes and very fit. They were trying to get some kind of a waterfall jump. One of them either slipped or misjudged the undertow of a cliff dive area. A very big no. She went in and didn't come back, getting sucked under the water and down to a larger pool. Her boyfriend freaked out and jumped in after her, trying to save her. He also didn't come up. Another friend also dived in, and also didn't make it. The couple who went down eventually had their bodies recovered miles down the river. All three died. Not me, but a good friend. He was driving around a corner with a date, mid-afternoon, and the city had freshly mowed wet grass that got blown into the road by the riding lawn mower, mulching instead of bagging. The car hit the wet grass on the road, like a banana peel, understeered the corner, and he slid off the side and into a tree. All this while only doing 35 mph, but the car hit the tree directly in the passenger side door, and a branch impaled her side. He said he sat there and watched her bleed out before the ambulance could show up. I didn't accidentally kill them, but I was riding home with a friend of mine on our bikes down the turnpike when a senior citizen who didn't check their blind spot changed lanes and sent my friend into and over the guardrail into a tree, severing his spine on impact, paralyzing him from the shoulders down, ribs puncturing his lungs as well. I just had to sit there and listen to him gasp and struggle to take his last few breaths on our linked intercom headsets. I was maybe 16 and had planted a huge vegetable garden in our backyard. My grandma came over, and I was super excited to show her, since she absolutely loved plants and gardening. She comes over and started pulling weeds in my garden. One was especially hard to pull out, and she fell backwards and hit her head on a paver stone, had a brain bleed and was in a care home not knowing who anyone was and unable to walk or move her hands for the rest of her life. I technically didn't kill her, but I think the outcome was worse than death. My uncle got a new golf cart just to drive around town in. My aunt was test driving with her niece as passenger. She went up the street to a parking lot and turned around. She accidentally bumped the front wheel on a curb. The cart flipped, spilling out her niece, which resulted in the golf cart landing on her head. My aunt was not the same for several years after. My entire family showed her so much support and love and reassured it. We knew it was an accident. What made the entire thing worse for her was the court completely annihilated my aunt. They went after her in every single avenue they could. Reckless driving, suspended license, revocation of nursing licenses, top fines they could give. It's a wonder she didn't receive jail time. To the judge, my whole family and friends made personal statements about how wonderful this woman is. It was an accident. We forgive her. You're making the healing process worse on everyone. Nope, they didn't care. A former classmate of mine was driving late at night, intoxicated, and hit someone with her car. She thought she had just hit a deer and kept going. When she found out about the guy's death, she put 2 and 2 together and turned herself in, plead guilty, and I think did a year or 18 months in jail. Seems to be doing okay now, but damn. This was an acquaintance, but they had an angry drunk guy at the bar provoking them into a fight. The guy kept pushing them and doing light hits, so they went outside. One punch later, and the other guy is knocked out, and his head smashed into a sharp corner of concrete. Not me, but I witnessed my boyfriend get shot and killed 3 years ago. We were in the woods on a friend's property looking for arrowheads. A mutual friend was target practicing and a bullet traveled 400 feet through the woods and got my boyfriend in the temple. We couldn't do anything but comfort him while we waited the 30+ minutes for the ambulance to arrive. I'm in the medical field. I know it doesn't technically count as killing someone, but failing to save someone due to lack of experience, inadequate reaction time, or even your choice of medication can sure feel like you killed someone. I clearly remember the first patient under my care who died unexpectedly. I ordered the standard care medication for him and even joked around with him on the way out of the door. 2 hours later, I was in his room as part of the cardiac arrest team. He didn't make it. There were signs. Somebody more experienced than me at the time might have picked up that for this particular patient, standard care wouldn't be enough. As an older colleague said, it gets easier to deal death over time, but the day it stops affecting you, you should stop practicing medicine. When I was 12 and in ice skating lessons, a lady fell backwards in front of me and her head landed on my pick. I'm not sure what happened as I was so young. I didn't really want to look into it further, but there was just a lot of blood and she was just spasming on the ground. I remember having to yank my skate as it was lodged in the back of her head, and I think I might have made it worse. The rink posted on their Facebook about her death. I'm still not over it. If I had just been 3 inches further, it wouldn't have happened. Not me, but my second cousin's husband accidentally killed his mother at a gender reveal by somehow making a pipe bomb. I would assume what went wrong was making a pipe bomb for a gender reveal. It made national news, and now the entire internet makes fun of them every time a bad gender reveal comes up. On Christmas Eve, I made the decision to remove my father from life support. He had oropharyngeal cancer and was brain dead from a carotid blowout. I know it was the right decision, but I'm pretty ducked up by it. I also rescheduled his first immunotherapy treatment until after the holidays, and I wonder if he had it as originally scheduled, if he would have lived a little longer. I sure miss him. We just turned left at an intersection when the car in front of me wanted to turn right into a convenience store parking lot. The problem was a truck was blocking the entranceway due to the snow, so he came to a sudden stop, so I rear-ended him. It was an older gentleman with his wife. They both seemed fine and were raging at the truck, who took off. I ended up being charged for following too close. About a month and a half later, I get a letter saying the guy's estate is suing me for causing his death. I sent it to my insurance company who settled the case. I was not allowed to see any of the case files. From what people told me, he was a smoker, so he wasn't in the best of health already. I'm still not sure how to feel about the whole thing. I kind of wish it had kind of went to trial, so I could have closure one way or the other. I was a young driver, behind someone at a stop sign crossing a fairly busy highway. After a good 10 seconds of no traffic in either direction, I gave a little beep of the horn. The person sat up straight, took their foot off the brake, and rolled into the highway, and about 5 seconds later got plowed by a pickup doing about 65 miles per hour. I saw in the newspaper the next morning that it had been a fatality accident. My friends were relentlessly cruel and said, "I killed this old woman." I don't think I'll ever forget that. Not my story, but someone I went to high school with was in a car wreck that, from my understanding, killed her niece instantly. Everyone else survived until first responders arrived and accidentally ran her mom over with a fire truck. She broke too many bones to count, lost her mom, and lost her niece all in one night. Still gives me chills thinking about it sometimes. I believe the wreck was technically the fault of her stepdad. It was in the middle of the night. From what I've gathered, he dozed off and clipped a trailer coming the other way. I doubt he is doing well.